Hello, everybody. Listen to that great music there. That is the fancy background music of the Mary Walter Radio Podcast. Hi, I am not that pretty face you saw on the banner. I'm James, your usual co host, and we are going to have a fun show tonight. I have a guest. Now, I know I've said I've had guests in the past, and fairness, they kind of were guests. But I have an actual guest tonight with real facts and real things we want to talk about. I hope you're listening over there on Getter. I hope you are listening on YouTube. And please, if you haven't already, like and subscribe. Just go ahead, do that. Just like, subscribe to Mary Walter Radio, and check out all the pest shows. We always say, if you just leave them run in the background. That's fine. Nobody cares. Just leave them run in the background. Listen to them, but if not, just leave them in the background. You know what I mean? Let me real quick just check in with the comments. Hello. You're saying hi, Bill. I'm sure Mary is around somewhere. And thanks. I appreciate the hi to me too. So, our guest today, we're going to talk about something. I think I'm going to get educated a little bit because I feel like what I think I know, I don't completely know. And we're going to talk about taxes. Mostly, we're going to talk about, I have always talked about how I thought a flat tax is the way we should all go. And then I've heard about a fair tax. And because of Mary, I've heard about Now Tax USA. And we are going to have Steve Redden on, and he's going to tell us all about, why I could be right or wrong, what's good in the, what could be great for the country as far as taxes go. And I don't know, maybe we'll laugh and giggle a little bit. So here we go. I'll bring on Steve.
Hey.
How are you?
Everybody. Hey, everybody. Thank you for having me on.
Not a problem. You are knowledgeable about a thing that I have brought up since since I was Mary's producer on Life with Mary Walter. I always call myself a bleeding heart libertarian, if you will. So, while I like some social things and social issues, I'm a lot of the government out of my way guy, if I can. And I feel like our tax system is a wreck. And more importantly, I had a long time ago had heard about a fair tax. And that seemed from the idea when I heard it then like a good idea. So before we dig too deep into you, if you could tell me why I could be right or wrong about that.
First off, why you're right about fair tax, it's a consumer tax versus an income tax. And I don't want to get too far into the weeds too fast, sure, but might as well make everyone angry real fast. As we all know, income taxes are, just not the thing. It really punishes your earnings. And so when you get into income tax, it fundamentally goes against the grain of our Constitution. And again, to get into the weeds, Declaration of Independence, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Actually, it wasn't the pursuit of happiness. It was life, liberty, and property. That was John Locke. And I guess political correctness and wokeness happened real fast where they said, property is kind of like owning people. So you got to eliminate property. And so they came up with happiness, which was also a John Locke theory, the pursuit of happiness. So from the very first day that our founding, Declaration of Independence, we went into wokeism and we eliminated property, life, liberty, and property. And John Locke's definition of property was what you earn is yours. It's if you earn it, you own it. And then Ben Franklin came along, and his famous quote is, property and wealth are rights, and rights cannot be taxed. So there we go. So income tax. So fundamentally, the very first thing that happens is we're in contradiction of our own founding. And so that's where I started. Hey, by the way, I like that coffee mug. Those are the same ones we use on the mountaintop.
Oh, I thank you. Yeah.
No, it's funny when you say that's. I might have had one right here, and you said, "Hey, we got the merch."
Right. Yeah.
So
always good to have merch.
So right from the beginning, we actually found ourselves in a real situation. And again, not to get too far in the weeds, but if anyone wants to know the little bit of history of taxes, is the first type of taxes we had were tariffs were the most favorite tax at the time back in the 1700s. Well, think about tariffs, they're pay-as-you-go taxes. much like a consumer tax. And back to the fair tax. And the fair tax was based on where I said you're right. I'll also tell you the wrong part.
Right.
But the right part is it's a pay-as-you-go tax, and it's paid off of your consumption, which is not paid off your income. So now the federal government is no longer going after what you earn. In other words, they don't get taxes until you use the money to make a purchase. So,
Right.
But hey, let me, James, let me tell you what's really good. The Q&A style is best for me because I'm not really not a public speaker.
No, that's okay. No, that's fine.
So the more questions you ask, the better I sound. If you let me try to do a speech or public speaking, I'll probably stumble all over myself.
Well, I got two. Right away, I'd go with, but why is the fair tax bad? Because that did seem like for a while the libertarian way, right? That was a big thing.
Well, no, I guess fundamentally, there's really two problems with the fair tax. And the first problem with fair tax, it's consumer tax. It is based on consumer. And you have to ask your question, why is the citizen always responsible for paying all the taxes? Taxes are to pay infrastructure. So wouldn't it be more reasonable to think the people or the businesses or whoever uses more infrastructure pays more taxes? Well, that's not how our system is set up, we'll get into the now tax, how the now tax is structured. It's based on infrastructure usage. So the consumer tax is fundamentally going in the right direction. But the problem with the consumer tax is, one, it taxes citizens. And it's my best analogy, it's like the landlord is paying the taxes, because with the fair tax, the way it's structured, and again, I'm not trying to diss the fair tax because I think they made a noble, right move. The fair tax is based on it's a progressive sales tax. It's not a consumer sales tax. In other words, the more you make, the higher your sales tax rate. So if you're at their highest rate based on their documentation, you're going to pay almost 24%. So let's say you're making over $500,000 a year. You go to buy your new Mercedes. You're going to pay for the new Mercedes. You're going to pay the 24%. Plus, you're going to pay your sales tax, and you can see you're going to pay almost 31% to buy your new Mercedes, which means you're going to drive your old Mercedes till the wheels drive off, pop off. Now, also, the fair tax does not tax the used market. So that also gives an unfair advantage to new manufacturers, and that you can buy used Mercedes without sales tax. And corporations pay no sales tax, and people underneath the income poverty line pays no taxes. So now you start going, well, wait a minute, who's paying all the taxes? Well, if you're a top earner or above the poverty line, you're the one that pay the taxes. And that's where I go back to my saying, the landlord is paying the rent for everybody, which it kind of like, well, that doesn't make sense. You and I, before the call, we were talking about, how many, let's just again say we make $500,000 a year. Simple, and we're paying in the highest bracket with all taxes, probably 40% of our income. So out of our 500,000, we're paying 200,000 income. Are we as individuals or our families getting the usage of that infrastructure of that much? You'd have to say, well, wait a minute, I'm not using that much infrastructure. As a matter of fact, myself, I live on a mountain in a rural setting. I drive to the grocery store and back. I'm retired. I'm not using any infrastructure. So why am I paying for all the infrastructure? Next question. I kind of talked myself out on that one.
No. Okay. So I see where that's sort of the downside of the fair tax, right? It all goes on the consumer to take care of that. So then the next thing I've heard about in time is the fair tax. Is that the next one that came up? Sort of.
No, mine is the now tax. Actually, the next tax to consider. Well, let's just take the income tax off the table to begin with.
Yeah, let's take that, and we can do that. Let's do that. Let's talk about what Now Tax USA represents and what's trying to happen.
Well, let's take the income tax off the table to begin with. The income tax just doesn't work. Right. Again, the only people that pay taxes are top earners over the poverty line. Corporations only pay 10% of the taxes, which means the citizens, the earners of the citizens, are paying all the taxes. In other words, the landlords are still paying all the rent.
Right.
The difference with the now tax is it's actually more of a fee-based tax. It's like a toll road. Okay. You got to think of our economy as a super highway, economic highway, a toll road where every business, every organization, I call it, and if you go to Now Tax USA, they're in the details. It's called ASOE, which is all segments of the economy pay a little something. In other words, if you get on the toll road of our economy, you're going to pay a little something. Right. Well, then the next question is, well, how does that work out math-wise to pay our federal budget? And the federal budget, let's say, is $5 trillion a year. Well, if you take all the transactions, sales and transactions daily, it's in the trillions. Annually, and you and I were talking about this earlier, it's a cute story. I was in a meeting, I was having a conversation, and I said, the United States does over $2 quadrillion in transactions every year. And the person goes, did you make that word up? And I laughingly go, no, that's real. So if you take 1% of $2 quadrillion, that's $10 trillion. It's kitchen table math, very simple. Well, right there, you can see $5 trillion goes to the federal budget. That means at 1%, we still have $5 trillion. The Now Tax is the first tax and the only plan that addresses paying down the national debt. I mean, you take 1% and you could take $5 trillion a year. So in 6 years, you could pay down our national debt. No one's even talking about that. There's not, name the politician that's seriously talking about paying down our debt. It don't exist.
It doesn't. Yeah, I refer people to the debt clock all the time. I'm like, you should look at this thing and see what nobody's talking about.
Yeah, I used it in one of my ads. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. It's amazing when you watch that ticker just, and you're like, and I can't imagine that, and I've showed it to a lot of people across the spectrum from far right to far left. When you look at that number, you go, right? Because it makes you think, like, when you hear discussions of, like, we still have, like, roads and bridges falling apart all over the place, and the military's budgets all over the place. I mean, you think, like, where's our money going? And how are we?
We're coming close to the interest payment is coming close to $1 trillion a year, which right now is technically 1/5 of our budget is interest payments.
Right.
So right there, that's more than we spend on military. That's more than we spend on Social Security.
They're bonkers numbers. So let's go back to the Now Tax. So we're talking about getting on, like, the financial infrastructure highway. So we are talking about, if you go to buy a car, it's there. If
you pay 1%.
Any transaction,
any transaction. You buy stocks and bonds. You pay. See, right this is a good one. Trillions of dollars a day are traded. There is not one real tax associated with those purchases. But yet, on the other hand, there's $17 to $20 trillion in consumer goods that on the state level alone, there's a 7 to 10% tax associated with that. See, to me, see how out of balance that is? It's not equitable. And I don't mean to use the word equity as in the racial senses, but I mean in true equity. The income tax is not an equitable system. As a matter of fact, the fair tax is not an equitable system. There's only one equitable system. If you use infrastructure, you should pay for the percentage of infrastructure you use. And not only that, it also correlates the taxes to a direct expense, that's something that's never been done before. Which I will tell you another thing, it's called TEST, a total economy of sales and transactions. It's a theory of Now Tax. And that is basically, I'm going to lose my thought here because I just overwhelmed myself in my own intelligence. But if you take the theory of TEST, what happens is when you do the Now Tax, because the Now Tax is collected daily at the bank. So when you make a deposit, automatically 1%, and the rate may only be 0.5%, but automatically it's taken. So daily, you know exactly what the economy is doing in all sectors, because each deposit is based on the SIC codes. And SIC code is standard industry codes. So when I make, let's say I'm a cattle farmer. When I make my deposit, it says cattle farming, that direct SIC code. So you know actually daily what the economy is doing. It's never been done before. You talk about economic projections. I mean, daily, it's like you're putting a thermometer in a sick kid's mouth. And again, that's the other benefit. Talk about a huge benefit of Now Tax. That alone is worth doing. Now, I will tell you what the naysayers are going to say about the Now Tax, because it's transaction tax. They say, well, that's a tax on top of a tax on top of a tax. Well, actually, all taxes are taxes on top of taxes on top of taxes. The difference is if you take the Now Tax, there's only 5 steps in every transaction. There's raw materials, There's wholesale, there's distributor, there's to the market, the retailer, and then there's the seller. There's 5. If you take 1% and you compound it, it may come up to 3%. So now let's just say naysayers. Okay, so now the now tax is only 3% in actual real numbers, but it's not. But at 3%, if you take the offsets of just the first offset of not having to do heavy tax lifting, like tax preparation, that's almost
Right.
$500 billion a year. See, the offsets alone, there's no more withholdings. There's no more matching. If you're an employer, you don't have to match Social Security. We're right there. So the offsets, tidal wave, if you have what you call the compounding effect. But still, if the compounding effect is a problem, what's wrong with that? That means if you collect too much money over the budget, then you lower that now tax rate to lower.
Right.
And that can be adjusted probably quarterly, I would say. By the way, I do have on Now Tax USA, there's an actual amendment. I call it the Tax Bill of Rights. It technically fits on one page at 10-point type, but I make it 12 to 13-point type so people can read it. But it's literally a one-page amendment that repeals and replaces the 16th Amendment, which if you want to get into the 16th Amendment, that's another anger button that will.
I'm sure. Before we do, let's get a couple comments in real fast, see what people have to say. Rachel McLean chime in and say, hey, I guess you'll do, sir. I think that's for me because you're doing a fantastic job, so I'm sure that's for me. We just had her up a minute ago. Mellow Red, great job, guys. All Americans should be hearing this. I agree. All Americans should be hearing this. And Greg here says, we're close to the point where we will never be able to pay the principal on the country's loans if these latest spending bills aren't passed. Do you want to weigh in on that one? Do you feel that are we at a tipping point?
That's part 2.
Yeah.
Once we start putting the wealth of Americans back in the pockets of Americans, and we spread the tax burden across all segments of the economy, because you got to realize that's almost like the first year alone, it's like a 15% raise for all Americans by doing this. You talk about, I was doing a Bitcoin thing earlier with another group, and they were talking about Bitcoin and gold and investing. I said, the best investment is to restructure our taxes. And it'd be like everyone getting a 15% raise, so you want a good investment. Let's restructure our taxes.
Yeah, it's way better than that 1 or 2% I get a year at my job. So,
but going on in my amendment, I do say there's a $5 trillion cap for budgets. I try to push a cap,
right.
Which good luck with that, right?
Yeah, I mean the bigger thing here is the politicians in Washington always have a chance to mess up even the best idea. I mean, if you implemented this, there is a part of it just says like, oh, that's just our politicians having their hands on way more money.
Well,
find a way to lose.
Actually, that's why it's structured like an amendment, because once it's in place, it cannot be tinkered with.
Right.
It would have to be untinkered to be tinkered.
Right. Hey, I like a more foolproof plan. I'm not going to lie to you. Clearly, my distrust shows.
Well, taxes right now are political football, as we all know.
Yeah.
As a matter of, if you go to nowtax.com and go into the details, there's probably 20 items that show you the benefits of the now tax. And by the way, this is just for fun. Here, I'm going to do something. Prop. This is a report. In this report, see the ChatGPT logo? I spent a 10-hour session. Now, I want to be perfectly clear. I've been doing this in 1997. My program, the Now Tax program, has been published well in advance of me talking to ChatGPT. But on one night, I said, well, I'm going to go talk to ChatGPT and see what they have to say about Now Tax. And even Now Tax says, what did Now Tax say? This even approved. What did it say? They call it tax efficiency and tax neutrality. The concept suggests that taxes based, basically it says this is the tax program. So when AI even agrees, they're worried about taxes.
Yeah.
Even AI is worried about paying taxes.
100%. Tell me, that's funny. Tell me who are the people in opposition to this? Like, I mean, we don't even get the particular politicians. Is there just a segment of the group, like financial people tend to want to shy away from this, or is it lobby? Who's
here? This is such a grassroots new movement. I've been waiting to launch this. I've actually 2011 was when I did the official launch, but it was this year when I started actually promoting it to the public.
right?
Because there was just been so many political things going on. I wanted a clear runway for the product, and now we have a clear runway, and the runway is established by the debt. So that's where I said, okay, now it's time to pull the stops out and go for it. So I really have no opposition to it. As a matter of fact, if anyone talks about it, it's a toll road. You know, you get on the toll road, you pay your tax. It's pay as you go. I have a ton of memes. Again, if you go to the website, I got some memes. But I tell you, the funniest
USA.com.
Yeah, the USA, nowtaxusa.com. But the funniest meme I have, and I got to be honest with you, I love this one. It's George Washington going across the Delaware, with the famous painting.
Yeah.
And the one of the guys on the boat says, "George, do you pay your taxes?" And George goes, "Quiet, man, you're going to start a war."
Nice. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I have a different question for you, only because I have an ADD brain and I'm never not going to be able to not know if I don't ask. Am I looking at like a Taylor acoustic behind me?
Oh yeah, that's my Taylor. That's
I
my
knew
second.
it was a Taylor.
That's my
This
second.
far away.
That's my second. That's my second one. I'm in love with Taylor guitars.
They're amazing guitars, right? I'm a drummer audio engineer, so that's at the heart of my love.
Well, the first one I got, I waited till I had a big financial gain, and I said I'm gonna buy myself a guitar. So I went down to the guitar gallery, and I thought I was gonna get a Martin or a Gibson or something else.
Sure.
Literally played every guitar in the gallery twice, and I kept going back to the Taylor. And at the time, that was one of the nicer Taylors. It was like almost $4,000.
Yeah.
And
like
so I got it. You know, I
Nice.
said, okay, I'm rewarding myself. Then I fell on hard times, and I went and pawned it. And I got $6,000 for it. I said, man, that was a good investment.
Good flip, yeah.
So now, but that's the cheapie there. That's a real cool cheapie. That's a little cheapie one.
I don't think they make a bad guitar top to bottom.
No, and I do open tuning. I do all like a blues open tuning. Yeah.
Yeah, my favorite. I'm a big Allman Brothers guy, and the one Allman brother now, Derek Trucks, plays an open knee all the time. So
No.
We've also just killed 10 people. No, I'm just kidding. No, I know we've got some musicians out there. If they want to weigh in. I know one musician here, Ringo. She says that's my wife. That's Tina. She says she's late to the party, but she's here. But she's a budding drummer, so.
No, that's good. Well, that's how I started playing drums.
Oh, did you?
Before Electric Kits, and I went to college with my full kit, and everyone complained, so I gave them up.
All right, so what do you like to play? We'll finish out our music discussion before.
Oh no, I'm just acoustic.
But what kind of music do you like to play? Like what do you like?
I like it. I really enjoy about 5 of the Johnny Cash songs.
Oh yeah,
you like Get a Rhythm. It's like one of the first rap songs. Hey, get a rhythm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And but then again, I rearrange a lot of Black Sabbath with open tuning. It's just more acoustic, but I do a lot of kind of just real fun stuff. I got a real cool Fairies Wear Boot rearrangement on that. It's really cool.
Nice.
Matter of fact, when I play it, my son's a musician. When I play it, he's going, "Man, what is that?" I go, "It's Black Sabbath."
That's fun. My dad's a musician. He sits in my band sometimes. That's always fun. We always call Papa Jim to come out and play organ with us for a little while. It's nice to play with, they have that relative to play with. Yeah. What's this one more comment here? Oh, my wife would like to inform everybody that she knew she was going to marry me when she requested Xanadu from Rush, and she also likes the Osmonds. So I think anybody who likes the Osmonds and Rush has a pretty well-balanced musical diet.
Oh yeah. No, well, I don't want to tell you my other ones. My real favorite, and it's only because the bass player is Primus, Les Claypool.
Oh, I'm a massive Primus fan. Oh yeah, I saw them with Rush.
No, I'm embarrassed to tell people because when I say that, they go, "Ooh, you're dangerous."
Yeah. Primus too is one of those bands you either like or you don't.
Well,
there's not a lot of leeway. Yeah. All
Well,
about that bass.
I took my nephew to a Primus concert, God, back in the '90s, and
Yeah.
so we got right up to the front, right?
Right.
So I'm thinking, this is so cool. We're right up front. Then after the first song, the mosh pit opens up, and here I'm like probably 45. The mosh pit opens up, and I go, man, am I at the wrong place now?
Yeah. You can definitely have it the wrong place, the wrong concerts.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. Tell me, let's finish up a little bit on taxes here. Tell me what the biggest danger right now do you think the American public is? Is it definitely the debt ceiling? Is there another, problem we have now that taxes aren't solving, or that we should be
Well,
nervous about?
I'm actually glad you asked me because I think we need a reset. And it goes right back to the very first thing I talked about, the Declaration of Independence, when we wrote life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, misquoting John Locke. And I hope some of your listeners now go and say, well, I got to find out more about John Locke. John Locke was a philosopher in the 1600s who worked under the King of England, who went to America and studied the American Indians. And he was impressed by how the Americans, what they made with their hands, they kept. And that kind of stuck in his head. And so when John Locke came back and wrote his philosophy, and it's an essay on life, liberty, and property, property was meant to be anything you create is yours. Your intellectual property, your thoughts, your money, your home. We've lost that.
Yeah.
And now I've actually have a paper that's copywritten thesis that is called the Lost Declaration, the Lost Amendment, the original amendment. And it actually goes into the history of how we lost that concept of individual sovereignty, which boils down to individual sovereignty. And I think that's where if we don't teach and illustrate and show people that we need to practice individual sovereignty. In other words, it is about us. It's about the citizen. It's not about the government.
Right.
Which goes into the 16th Amendment, which the 16th Amendment is very troublesome because it's the first time the federal government gave themselves a right. And the 16th Amendment gives them the right to take your income. Think about it. Our Constitution is for the rights of the citizens. And all of a sudden, this miracle little thing, the 16th Amendment pops in there, and the federal government has the right to take as much of their income as they want. And it actually almost literally says that. You talk about the fork in the road that takes us into communism, talks us into socialism. I mean, there it goes. And then the 17th Amendment followed it, where they took away, where before the 17th Amendment, representatives and congressmen, senators answered to the state and went to Washington to vote. And now the federal government funneled all the money through the 16th Amendment to Washington, and now started paying senators and congressmen to reside in Washington, creating an overlord situation. And so you ask me where, honestly, not being disrespectful, the battle in Ukraine, the battle in Israel, we have a real battle here. We're about to lose our individual sovereignty. And so you ask me what's our real problem? Is we have to go back and hit the reset button.
I had an Italian gentleman tell me a fascinating thing that he found crazy about America. He said in Italy, if you don't pay your taxes, they can turn off all your services.
Right.
They can make your life incredibly difficult, but you still have your property, and they can never take your property away from you no matter what, because that's your property. I was like, wow, what a weird concept. That your property's yours. What a neat concept.
Ben Franklin argued. Ben Franklin argued that the rationale behind income taxes is because we elected officials, and the officials went to Washington on our word and went into debt. In essence, the public owed the debt, and now we, the citizen, had a loan to the federal government, and that's why they could lien your income, because you owed the loan that the federal government took out on your behalf.
Right.
Yeah. Hey, that one.
That's circle logic for you there, huh? Good
well,
time.
but fundamentally it's true.
Yeah.
But it also fundamentally it's like, well, who are we voting into our office that are going up and basically giving them power of attorney to spend our money?
Exactly.
I mean, if you want to break it down to, real world stuff, you wouldn't do any of this in your own personal life.
No.
So.
Scott Wagner came in with Rockin' and Rollin'. Clearly he's in on our music discussion. He said that's the same here. You can't take your property for taxes either. It's in the Constitution.
Yeah, except for the 16th. Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely, fundamentally right. It's either the Fourth or Fifth Amendment, but fundamentally, by the fact that they instituted the 16th Amendment, now saying that you owe them money because you technically took a loan out on your citizens, congressmen, senators took a loan out in behalf of you. Now they can come and lien your property, which they
Right.
can take your property based under the 16th Amendment. That's why the now tax replaces and repeals the 16th Amendment. It's actually a tax bill of rights. It's really, I do recommend it. It's kind of heavy reading, but it's written in lay terms because I wrote it.
Nice. Kept it down for us. I like that. Good job. Good job.
I only wore my preaching uniform just to fool people.
Well, so Mary was in this, setting this up with me from the beginning. She's out on staycation duty or some important journalistic saga that she's not looking into. And we sew your suit, and I'm like, I feel so bad because I'm wearing a Foo Fighters t-shirt and I don't know, Kiss Me hat or whatever's on my hat. I don't even know what's on my hat. But yeah, so usually we tell people like, yeah, you can relax, come on in, have a drink. But yeah, you were definitely dressed to impress today.
Oh no, it's it's about the only thing I can do.
That's awesome.
Hey, I got to tell you another thing, and this is maybe out of school, but have you done? Have you been to X Spaces lately?
Yeah. Oh, you mean Twitter?
Yes,
Twitter
X Spaces. Oh man, I'll tell you, you and Mary should start a daily. If it's only 1 hour, and then you guys ought to do guest appearances on the other spaces because these guys are growing. It's like this little cottage radio industry, and when they get someone famous, man, they plug you right in. They put you right to the top.
Huh?
And some of these are like 2,000 and 3,000 people at a time.
Wow.
And I think Mary and you, with your little celebrity thing you guys got going on, you guys should do some pop-ins and start. No, you're going to freak. If you ought to tonight after we get off this, if you're not too busy, go to Spaces, just plug into one of them, and you're gonna freak out. I've been trying to do one, but with my big following, I'm not doing too good at it.
Well, the secrets of followings, don't you? Doing it over and over.
Oh yeah,
over and over and over.
Yeah.
I tell this, and look, by the way, you can certainly get hold of me if you're interested. But I've put podcasts together for a lot of people, and you'll notice I still don't have a lot of podcasts that I've put together for people because generally, even though I tell them this right from the beginning, you can make this 3 ways. You can not care about anything, and then you do what you want. Like if you're not worried about numbers or money or average, and do what you want, just go out there and have fun, and I'll build you all the stuff you need, and you can go out and do a good time. 2, right? You want this to be a part-time job where, like, if the band thing, like in the weekend band kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
That takes time and hours. Like you still have to put rehearsals in, learn songs, book it. There's a whole thing that goes in just to being a weekend warrior band. Okay. Same thing with doing a podcast just to make some money, right? You got to really start putting some time and investment into the thing to turn around and make money. Or you want to be in that 1% over like 50,000 views or so, the people, that not even near Joe Rogan, like just 50 to 100,000, like those kind of numbers.
Right.
And then it's practically a full-time job, or is a full-time job.
It should be. Well, remember early one of the other shows when I was typing in, Mary was talking about alternative media.
Yeah.
I really think alternative media is, especially this X Spaces thing. It's getting hot. It's getting hot. It's getting hot.
Guys from more of our generation are very used to having gatekeepers that told you what you could do and what would be good. And then they packaged it and put it out and gave it to everybody, which is sort of what used to make it easy about finding stuff. Three's Company's on at 8. They're telling, or whatever's on, sports is on at noon, or it's like they put it out, they give it to you, they do all the job. Now there's a million ways for you to get your product out without a gatekeeper whatsoever. But you have to be willing to, be your own production company, be your own thing. It's really.
Well, my fiance and I, Saturday night, we did YouTube the whole night.
Right.
Music, how-tos.
Yep.
And we did. I mean, we sat with a glass of wine and just YouTubed all night long. Didn't even watch TV.
Yeah.
So that should be scary to a lot of big media people. Yeah.
As a guy who just got out of radio, I think that's a big nervous thing. And appointment, regular TV and regular radio stations, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. When the buying public can figure out other ways to, advertise like this or any of the media spaces you came up with or ways you came up with. There's a lot of places you can put your dollar now.
So let me ask you, did I tell you enough about NowTax that it makes more sense? Or still a little confused.
No, it definitely makes more sense. What I first think everybody should do, and let's plug this again, everybody should go out to nowtaxusa.com. I just again refreshed up on like right from the beginning, and everything right from the beginning when you hear the description is really like clear and written well, and it gives you a really good sense of what we're doing. I think the thing that's hard for us to impart to the universe is how bad it really is out there, because we don't always, myself included, see the thing that's going to smash us in the face until, my ears are bleeding and my jaw's broken. So,
yeah, but there is a revolution out there. Now we're talking about social media.
Yeah.
And I'm not plugging NowTax USA, but if you really want to change our tax system, it's as simple as repost and follow. You think
Right.
about it. You want to be part of the revolution? Repost and follow.
Yeah.
It's like it's a shame, and I'm telling you, it's a real shame. Our congressmen and senators have locked us out, where we just can't repost and send them something. Have you noticed? You go on Twitter. There's no DM, and you're not going to get to them. So you got to pick up the phone. And when you pick up the phone, you're not going to get to them. So we've been locked out. Whereas when you talk about the Joe Rogans or any of the real successful Twitter accounts, really the revolution starts as simply as reposting and following. And then the other initiative is take the content and go over to another platform. Because I just do Twitter, X Spaces, because I'm just illiterate, social illiterate. But I found a home at the Twitter space. So but that's what I could only recommend to everyone. Don't look at Twitter as just a way of picking up some bits and pieces. Find a cause. Oh, and speaking of a cause, which I always push, is Scott Purcell. No, Presley. How do you pronounce his name? Does all the vote registration.
Presley? I'll go Presley. Yeah.
Presly, right? Presley. Everyone should get involved. So there's one right there. There's a simple one. You want to do something today, tonight. You want to be a revolutionary? Help him out. Go donate to him. Yeah, good. Yeah, Scott.
Yep. Scott Presley.
Yep.
Presler. Yep.
Yep. So and that's where I think we need to do more of. And you got to how to get off the sidelines, repost and follow. That way the people who are trying to do something at least know that what they're doing is not completely being unheard. So
I'm going to grab a couple comments, and just before I do real fast, super quick one. Do you think there's a chance that a young generation is grasping this, which they're going to get it off? What's the Chinese one? I'm always going to forget there that I'm not on either. What's social media? TikTok. They're going to get it there, right? But you get my point. Like, do you think there's a grassroots movement amongst young people to understand and grasp what we're doing?
No. And I'll do it two ways. One is Americans have been put to sleep by their paycheck. And I've said this since 1997, because of the withholding systems. Once you get your second and third paycheck, you've been immune to thinking about taxes.
Right.
And yet you pay. But if you had to pay your own quarterly taxes, you would automatically go, what the, Right. Now what's funny about that is the famous economist who actually devised the withholding systems. Oh, geez. I should know his name right off the top of my head. Anyway, he even said Milton Friedman. Milton Friedman said the worst thing I ever did is created the withholding systems. And he said specifically because Americans no longer understood the value of their taxes they were paying. Wow. So therefore, that's another reason why the now tax is so important. It eliminates all taxes. It's now, it's one of the slogans is now tax. It's like having no tax at all. At a nominal rate of 1%, it's like, who complains about a sales tax? Have you complained about the latest sales tax when you bought a hamburger or
I don't
a
remember.
shoe?
I don't
Right.
remember. I don't even remember if Jersey's is 6 or 7 anymore. I don't even know.
Right. And so if you have a nominal pay-as-you-go tax of 1%, now you got to also remember we have the second part of this is we're going to the states. If the now tax is instituted in the states, because the states are doing the same thing with a consumer tax, the citizens are paying for all the infrastructure for the profit. And I don't say like profiteers in a negative way, but corporations make money off the consumer, right? They're not paying for any infrastructure.
Right.
Well, that's great. Hey, free rent for the guy that's making money off of me.
Right.
Yeah. So I know it's how you look at taxes. It's not, taxes are good. Taxes are essential. Taxes are necessary. It's how they're collected and how they're just not distributed, but the opposite of distribution. It's how they're spread out.
Right.
To make it so it's the lowest rate. As a matter of fact, the formula for now tax is it's a non-regressive, non-progressive, apolitical, the least amount of tax laws, regulations, and rules. The tax is spread across the total economy to create the lowest tax rate possible to have no effect on the economy. That's the formula.
I like it.
So I know it's a little boring.
No, I like it.
Little in the weeds there, but
that's okay. Let's grab some comments here. Scott says, "Okay, that clears it up. So you can't take your land, but they can take and make you payments on taxes. They can't just outright take it when you're behind."
That's correct. Okay. That's fundamentally correct. Fundamentally, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Also here, going back, we had Porch VR. I saw when she weighed in, she was saying, "Yep, it is bad." Also, Gregory chiming in too. He thinks we're screwed. So there's definitely some people out there that are curious here. Also, my congressman staff always answers. They are really competent. Portview, who's your congressman? Just curious. Don't man know off the top of my head. And then Scott again says, never had an app for literally anything, the bank or Facebook or anything. It worked as well as the web part. Okay. Yeah, you're not an app guy. Yeah, technology's a thing. I have a friend who won't use his DVR. And I said, well, you can skip the commercials. And he goes, well, I need the commercials to go up and get my ice cream. And I said, that's why you have a pause button. So sometimes we're just a little afraid of technology, but I get it. I'm not saying you have to have an app, Scott, but I'm just saying.
No, when I watch news channels, I use the pause button all the time, so you can have your local debate.
Right. Yeah. You are not kidding. Yeah, I mean, a lot of pauses on a lot of news stations for discussions, no doubt. Steve, thank you very much, man. Do you want to plug anything about Now Tax USA? Do you have any events coming up or anything that you want to pull it out there?
Well, we got some top secret things going on, but
I like that. Yep. They're always don't talk about those. They're always good.
We're gonna hold on those, but honestly, go to Twitter, follow and repost Now Tax USA as much as possible. Take that content, spread it around in your favorite social media. That's all we can do right now.
Hold on, Stick. Chris Christie wants to know if you'll grace us with a song on your guitar before you go.
I don't know. It might not be in tune. I haven't touched it in a while. I'd be afraid.
It'd be a minute, right? Yeah, we didn't set that up, man. Usually we would have checked that out ahead of time and checked that out. Yeah.
But if I did, it'd probably be Somewhere Over the Rainbow. How's that?
That's a great song. Hey, lots of my favorite jazz artists have done it at some point. So
that's right. Eric Clapton did a real cool version of it.
Eric Clapton did a very cool version. Absolutely. It's all in the melody, right?
Yeah.
All in the melody. Thank you very much, Steve. You've been really, really helpful. This was actually a really good education today. I'm sure we're going to have you on again. I'm sure we couldn't possibly have covered everything in one show.
Well, it's a pleasure, and I look forward to seeing you on your X Spaces tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm going to have to check that out. Yeah, I'm going to definitely have to look into that. This sounds like something definitely we should be doing.
No, you can do it while you're having a hamburger at McDonald's.
Right, anywhere, right. Exactly.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. And let's see how good I am. Look at that. I did it. I can almost learn how to work the controls. It's my third time doing this by myself, and I actually work the controls. Do you believe that? That's what's bonkers. So I didn't know he was a musician. We had talked a little before we got on, we talked a lot about taxes. He gave me a dissertation on taxes and went through them all. So I felt really well educated coming into this about taxes. How much I'll remember, I don't know. Good reason to have him on again, though, right? Because I think all of our memories in a modern day are a little short. Just to prove that, how many people know that Russia launched an offensive in Ukraine? Anyone? Crickets. I don't even hear a guinea pig. Nothing. Right? It happened. They didn't do anything. They launched a few battalions at the Ukrainians, and the Ukrainians held them back. This guinea pig heard something about it, though, and he decided to pop on and say hello. This is my buddy Blue. He is a guinea pig who's very bright, and he keeps up with everything. So he had some thoughts on Ukraine and Russia. So, Blue, it's your turn. Go ahead. No, buddy, come on. We talked about it earlier. Go ahead. Don't be shy. Go ahead. Say something. You smell like hay. It's like you've been bathing in hay. Okay, I'm going to hand you back to your handler. I know you have your own trailer, so I'm going to send you back to that trailer till the end of the show. And okay, great.
He was literally bathing in hay, just so you know.
Oh, was he? Oh, good.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see. Oh, thank you very much, Portview Farm. I appreciate that. It has been a fun show. Again, of course, Steve did a lot of the heavy lifting there, but let's see what he has to say. Now you say, James, I guess that an app would do things differently. It would just take some time learning. It would, Scott. Now, again, I don't want to force you into the apps. No reason to do it. But I'll tell you, I was later to the app game than most people. At 50, I wasn't there right from the, with the Utes or whatever. Yeah, so I got in early late too. But, what happened is I transitioned from cutting my cable cord, right? I got rid of that thing. And then I had to use the apps. That was the only way to really get TV. In fairness, the only app I use the most is YouTube because I watch more YouTube content than anything on the planet. Just stuff them into music.
Especially on the toilet.
Yeah. Especially, As my wife from the sidelines like to yell, if anybody didn't hear that, from the toilet. Great. And then here, is he from the Okay, great. I don't know. That's good question. Yes, Duran covered it. Oh, yeah, about Ukraine. Yeah, I know a couple outlets did. But my point being here is that it's not every day it was Ukraine news and now it's Israel news. And I'm not saying they're both news. I'm just saying the media likes to hold a story like a carrot, right? I mean, so they're just holding, or I don't know, coin, Chinese coin, the shiny one now over here. Look over here. Then this one. I don't know. Yeah. And then, Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Very good. I like that. Yep, everybody likes that song too. I know I'm almost asking this. I don't know if I'm asking this question to the wrong crowd. Maybe it's some of your grandchildren or children. I don't know, but does anybody here know anything about new music? I mean, we only got a couple minutes here before I have to check out, but I was saying it because I know that I don't. I worked on the Ryan Seacrest show for a while, and there's a period where I know a little bit about pop music, but I don't know anything about modern music at all. In fact, I used to ask people, can you name me a single band that's going to be long known, like the bands like Led Zeppelin or Frank Sinatra or Pearl Jam or any band from before the 2000s? If anybody can name a single band that started after the year 2000 that we are going to remember from the end of time, and nobody, people come up with one or two, but none. Now, obviously taxes are a bigger problem, and our crumbling infrastructure and corrupt politicians, those are all bigger problems. But for a guy who's lived his life in music, right? That's what I've done most of my life, is work in music and radio and things of this nature. I find it fascinating that bands with the biggest hits right now, even on rock radio, aren't new. They're bands that have been around for a long time. Okay? As the young lady. Now, I listen to Madison Cunningham. She's not necessarily a hit, but she does. She did win Folk Album of the Year. And her album's not really folk. It's more like Radiohead meets Joni Mitchell. If any of that means anything to you, then check her out. And a little Paul Simon in there, too. Madison Cunningham. Seriously, write it down. Okay. Her name is a lady named, I'm not going to try and pronounce that. Marisha? I don't know. Meresha. Her voice is simply enchanting. Okay. I'll check that out. Absolutely. I would love to find that out. Yeah. And by the way, I'm not saying there's not good music out there, because this Madison Cunningham, by the way, is astonishingly good. And I find other great music technically out there, right? But, I'm going to come to Chris Christie in a minute. But is any of it going to be remembered in 20 years the way we think of the greats now? Right? I mean, I'm glad if please tell me about any new music you think is great that's coming out now that you think nobody's heard of. You could put it up on the board all you want. Chris Christie. Maybe Taylor Swift. I'm trying to think of her first album came out in 99. She might have come out in the early 2000s, but that would be one. I mean, I'll give that to you because I can't prove 99. Mary's weighing in. Look at that. Ed Sheeran. I think Ed Sheeran came out. Okay, Ed Sheeran. I'll go with that. I can't prove he came out in the 90s. I was trying to think if he also. There was like a class of 99 was a big class. So, yeah, but maybe Ed Sheeran. Yeah, that's close enough. But you notice we're not coming up with.
First album came in 2011.
Who?
Ed Sheeran.
Oh, 2011? Really? I thought you told her that. Okay, Ed Sheeran's 2011. So yeah, I think we'll remember Ed Sheeran in 20 years. Taylor Swift, my producer. Could you look up Taylor Swift first album? Just to make it see it go? Well, I got a minute here. Yeah, but this is hard. This is a hard game to play. There's not a lot of Beyonce. I know is the 90s. I'm just trying to throw out names.
2006.
Oh, 2006? Taylor Swift first record?
Yeah.
Look at that. Wrong twice in one day. So there's 2 for you. 2 is it. That's not it. There's probably
but
more.
in years they're going to be forgotten.
But how many amazing bands could we name before 2000? I mean, every one of, I'm sure, all of your favorites who are commenters here, right? Could probably name 10 bands they like, and I bet you none of them are after or their favorite bands are after 2000. Hozier is great. That song Church is awesome, but I don't think he'll be famous in 20 years. He's barely famous. Oh, no, I take it back. I thought he wasn't famous now. I just heard he sold out some giant place. So actually, he is pretty big. I like this game where people start coming to prove me wrong. This is always fun. Please keep proving me wrong because I'm always a fan.
No, you're not. When I'm right.
Oh, no, you're never right. That's the problem.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you're right, though, because neither of those two are rock artists. Okay, but even then, like, well, that's another discussion, right? But what is left of rock?
Adam Lambert, maybe?
Who?
He's with Queen. I said Adam Lambert. Maybe.
Adam Lambert, maybe, because of what he's done with Queen. That's right, Ringo. Good idea. I believe they're less talented ones in music now because they're rich. Relative gets the music, and that's use computers, electronics, people. The computer music is a problem, and then AI is about to become the next problem for music. Mm-hmm. So if anybody doesn't know, or if they hadn't heard, I don't know the name of the company or the organization, but they put out a Drake song, an AI Drake song, that got over 1 million downloads. And some of those people, many of them must have known that it was an AI. It wasn't even a secret. So it does show you that tastes in music are changing. Because I know this guy who's worked in music retail.
Aztec.
Who? Aztec?
Aztec.
Who's that?
That's the people who put out the.
Oh, that's who put it out. Thank you. Aztec. Yeah, that's the group that put it out. So, yeah, music tastes are obviously changing, and you can't tell young people what to like and what not to like. Lots of them do flock to older stuff, though. I think ones that get very into music, I'm sure they seek out the good of now. But if you talk to a younger musician, they're still looking back. There's still that going on. I did hear an interesting thing, though, which is older guys like me and back, when I wanted to learn something, at best, they put out a VCR tape of it and, like an instructional video, and they showed you a couple things. But lots of stuff that I wanted to learn. If I couldn't find the music to read it, I had to use my ears. I had to listen to it and, fast forward and rewind it or whatever. I even had CDs then. I had to look for it and listen for it in some way. And a lot of times I was just interpreting close to what I thought it was, which is how you sort of move the ball along in music, right? Guys will go, oh, that's what you thought I played. And then they become part of the thing and everybody bounces around, right? But now the kids can just go right to the YouTubes, right on there and just go, it's exactly what he's doing. So I do wonder where some of the new expression is going to come from. That's going to be a hard thing to find in music, I think.
YouTubes, you sound old.
Oh, I know I sound old. Thank you. That didn't take much. What do we have here? First aid kit, maybe? I don't know who that is. I will look that up. Okay. First aid kit. All right.
I've never even heard.
Nope. Hey, I love when. Hey, please educate me. The more the merrier, right? More stuff you can throw in there. I also would have taken your old school favorites too, if you had any old school favorites.
Xanadu?
Who?
Xanadu, Right.
So I'll end my music discussion by bringing my wife into this for a second and telling you what I think one of the most endearing qualities it is about her. What is I as a professional talk oriented person, we both have a love for Rush, which is I always said how I knew I was going to marry her, because she liked not only older things like Donnie and Marie, but she was a fan of Rush. So, and any girl who asks for Xanadu by Rush, which is a 13-minute song with, 1/3 of it being singing, might be a keeper in my mind. I don't know. There's a musician who likes bands like that. She was a keeper. So, but with that, she also has the ability in her own way to talk to anybody about anything, especially things that she is passionate about. And we very recently were awarded some Geddy Lee tickets for his Geddy Lee. I'm doing it now. Geddy Lee is the bass player and singer and keyboard player for the band Rush. And he is doing a book tour, a giant book tour for his new book, My Effing Life. I'm plugging Geddy Lee like he needs my plug. And we'll be seeing him at the Met in Philly, which is an old opera house. And I just thought that's a neat way to go see an artist. Also, to add to this, we have 2 guinea pigs named Geddy and Alex, named after 2 guys from Rush, Alex Lifeson, and of course the Geddy Lee that I just mentioned. Alex Lifeson is a guitar player. She will go to very random people, including 80-year-old grandmas, and go, so I have 2 guinea pigs named Geddy and Alex, after Geddy and Alex from Rush. And they look at her like, but same thing with the book tour. She'll tell very random people as if everybody on the planet knows who Geddy Lee from Rush is, because she's very happy and she wants to know. And it makes me very excited to both see the people who go, wow, I love Geddy Lee, and the other people who look at her like, Geddy Lee, sure, that's a real name. So I get both there. So I love all that. Scott said John Michael. I don't know who that is, Scott. You've given me so wealth of people to check out. Is he new, John Michael? Okay. First I thought that's a Joni Mitchell. I looked at the small thing. Oh yeah, you're right again. There'll probably not be any more Richie Blackmore showing up anytime soon. I'm gonna half agree with you, Chris Christie. I don't know if there's gonna be any Deep Purples, but I guess they're not that new. But there's a band called Animals Leaders, and their main guitar player is a guy named Tobin Abasi, who I think is really throwing guitar playing into a new world. He is an amazing thing. And Animals Leaders is probably the best progressive rock band, I don't know, since Genesis. I don't know. They're different, but they're amazing. Amazing. Aztec. Yes, I know Aztec. That's a great band. That's an awesome band. Yeah, no need. Jesus Mary Jane, Duran Duran, The Jam. Those bands are good. Stone Roses, Happy Mondays. I like literally every one of those bands. I like all of those. That's a very 90s sort of thing. They're all my favorite kind of bands. Well, The Jam's older, but yeah. Well, Duran Duran's from the 80s. Early 80s. Okay, I'm old, and on that note, I am definitely old. thank you, everybody. I have had more than my share of fun tonight. Probably more fun than I'm allowed to have on any regular show. So thank you very much, everybody. Mary, of course, will be back next week with probably me, maybe a guest, because I'm not smart enough to look at the schedule. But she's the smart one. To check Mary Walter Radio on the important platforms here, which you'll also see on the banner that I will this time get right. Chris Christie, thank you very much. I appreciate you thanking me. And one last from Scott, Emmylou Harris, who is outstanding. Yes. Thank you very much. You've all been wonderful. I appreciate you helping me on all these kind of shows. And all I can really come up with to say is one more real important thing. Goodbye.
Upper right hand corner.
Oh, I got to take me out of the show. That's important too.